Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to just chit chat for a couple of minutes, just make sure everybody can find us. Hi, my name's Angela. I'm the co-founder here at Fabric. It's nice to see all of you guys. Oh, yay! So good to see you guys. Thank you guys for coming. I know this is hard to find, so I appreciate you making the effort. This is our new space. We've only been here for like maybe less than 2 months. It's like a month and a half. And it's a unique space, right? It's much, if you were at our old space, it's a lot smaller, but this is so much more efficient. It's easier to run. It feels a little more intimate and inviting. So we're really excited about it. And we don't need more space. I mean, this is the same type of audience we had at our other space. So we're just cozy. And I love that. So hopefully it's allowing you guys to talk with each other, meet each other. Tonight, make sure you make friends with somebody in the room because you're all interested in fashion. You're all either professionals or students or just fashion lovers, so you have a ton in common, and I've seen so many connections start from this event and from everything that happens at Fabric. People start collaborating and working together and hiring each other and everything, so make friends. And there's Sherry. This is my co-founder, so Sherry Berry. And Sherry, come on in. Have a seat right there if you'd like to, front and center. So anyways, thank you for making it and for trying to find us and for finding us. We really appreciate it. First thing I always like to do before we start this is give you a little bit of a background of Fabric so you understand who we are if you're new to us. So I want to read the room here. Is this the first thing you've ever attended with Fabric? Raise your hand. Oh, good. So we have a lot of new people. That's amazing. Well, welcome once again. I'm going to tell you what we are. First, let me grab our little remote so I can show you some slides. Are we charged, do you think? Hopefully. Hold on. I think so. It's got a blue light. Maybe not. Hold on. Let's see. Try it again. Oh, good. Okay. Okay, so FABRIC stands for the Fashion and Business Resource Innovation Center. And it's an acronym, obviously, but what we really are is an incubator. We're a nonprofit fashion incubator. And what that means is we're here to help people who want to start clothing brands or already have a clothing brand so that they can actually navigate the complexities of manufacturing sustainably, small batches, domestically. So think about those words for a minute. The fashion industry is kind of broken. There's a lot of overproduction overseas, a lot of unsustainable things that happen, a lot of unethical things that happen to make our clothing. Fast fashion is out of control. And if you're a small brand, it's hard to compete with that, right? To be able to manufacture clothing, you have to go overseas and work with the same factories that are making 100,000 units for some bigger brand. You're not the priority. It's kind of hard to navigate all of that. There's a language barrier, there's tariffs, there's IP issues. So it's hard to start a clothing brand. And you probably don't want to manufacture tens of thousands of units, right? You might not have those sales yet. So being able to make small batches domestically takes a lot of skills. It's a different set of skills than what you learn in design school. When you go to design school, you learn how to sew, you learn how to make patterns, you learn how to draw pictures, things like that. You learn about concepts, but they don't really teach you how to navigate small batch domestic manufacturing. That's a really special set of skills that not everybody knows. And that's what we specialize in, is holding your hand through that process. So as an incubator, holding people's hands through getting small batches made domestically and sustainably, we just happen to have a lot of expertise, a lot of equipment, and a lot of cool things that can help unite the fashion industry, the slow fashion industry, the small brands, the indie designers. And we've been growing this since 2016. So Sherry and I co-founded Fabric to support apparel entrepreneurs and the slow fashion movement, the sustainable fashion movement in the United States. And we've helped a lot of people get through that. So let's talk about what that looks like. First of all, we call ourselves an ecosystem for fashionpreneurs. And it's not just in Arizona, it's throughout the US. And we have a directory that is filled with thousands of fashion businesses. So if you haven't, you have to go there and actually look under community, because if you're support a small brand, or if you are a small brand and you want to put yourself in the directory, you can do that for free. You can find hairstylists and makeup artists and models and sewing factories and fabric stores and schools, and everything fashion related is in that directory. So that's kind of acting as like a hub or a headquarters for the small fashion industry. So we're empowering apparel entrepreneurs in the US fashion community. We're a 501c3. And we've been around since 2016. And as a nonprofit, we have a mission and a vision. And so you can see up here what it is. But in a nutshell, basically, like I said, we're holding people's hands. We're empowering these apparel entrepreneurs through the process. But the big vision is that we really want to create like a much better industry with a circular supply chain. We want to be able to put Arizona on the fashion map. But like, you know, it's already established. It's hard to change things once they've already started happening the way that they're happening. So we could do it different technology to make things more efficient and more sustainable. And that's what we're doing. So slowly, we're putting Arizona on the fashion map. This has been a personal thing that I've been trying to do since about 2002. And so everything that I've been doing for the last 20 something years has revolved around trying to do that ultimate vision. Since we opened in 2016, though, we've helped about 2,300 apparel entrepreneurs. So about 2,300 different small brands have gone through here, used all of our resources to start their business. There's a seat right here if you want to head over. Right there. Start their business, make their product, use our resources. And then in that actually donated a lot of free resources. So we have the things like the directory, we have a calendar of events, we have a classifieds that we maintain, we have a free sourcing library here. I do $5 consultations every Friday. We have this free event that we do every month. We have Eco Fashion Week every year that you can participate in for free, and you can join the fashion shows and the pop-ups and the seminars and workshops. I mean, there's so many things that we do to try to support the industry. We documented all of that and we've reported it to City Council since we started. We've documented $15 million worth of free things that we've given away. And one of the biggest, most impactful things is giving scholarships into our education. We have education in the form of a roadmap that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But even without having access to the roadmap, if you guys, maybe you're not starting a business, but you just like fashion, we have so many things you can do for free. And all of that is part of our give back to the community. So make sure that you're familiar with what we do. Go to the website, become a free member. You can see up here the directory, the classifieds. If you're looking for a fashion job, you can go to our website and there's a whole fashion students in here. If you're looking to try to get in the industry, you'll find fashion jobs there. Somebody tell us what your job posting is, and we'll put it on there for free so you don't have to pay for a job board somewhere. We have a calendar of events where you can find all the magic and the textile shows and all the local fashion weeks and fashion shows. We also have our events on there, and we try to make ours really affordable. So there's just great resources available to you as a free member. Just go on the website and poke around and you'll see all those things. And then if you're an apparel entrepreneur and you're actually starting a brand, you could get a scholarship into the education that we offer, which is a roadmap. It's a guide that walks you through how to start a clothing brand, how to get the business started, how to find funding, how to write a business plan, how to get all the roadmap. Is that it walks you through how to get your product developed so that you have production-ready digital patterns, and you have tech packs, and you have sew-by samples that have been manufactured on industrial equipment that now can be replicated, and it walks you through how to get through small batch manufacturing. Those are the secrets that are hard to learn, that they don't teach you in design school, that are in our roadmap. And our roadmap has $70,000 worth of education in it. You don't have to go major in apparel production management. You don't have to go hire a production manager to get you through all of that. You can actually use this roadmap, and we scholarship minorities, veterans, people with disabilities, people with a financial need, and female entrepreneurs into this roadmap. And so that's our biggest gift to the community. And we're just really proud to be able to have these entrepreneurs. And one of the things that we offer to the community is this monthly free event. So thank you guys for coming to this, because this event means a lot to me. When we were putting together Fabric, I was like, how do we highlight all the amazing people that are actually in this community? Now that the community is growing, we got a lot of really cool, talented people that have industry experience that could be sharing. It's the last Thursday of every month, and you get to come journey, somebody who's an industry expert, somebody who's been there, done that. It could be somebody who's a pattern maker, a stylist. It could be somebody who's a print designer, somebody who's an expert in sustainability, technology, just different parts of the fashion industry. And then they have to teach us something. They have to give us an insider tip or trick or something like that. So it's somebody different every time. And your support by coming here physically, listening to their journey means so much to us, and it means so much to the speaker. You know, imagine speaking to an empty room. So I know it was hard to find tonight. I appreciate you guys all making an effort to find our new location and be here to support our speaker. And I'm really excited about our speaker. I recently met her. This place is like a magnet for fashion people. So every day people come in here and I'm like, oh, whoa, you're from where? You did what? So to hear from you and learn from your experience. Our speaker tonight is Alexis Chait, and I'm going to have Alexis come up in just a minute with Theory, Rebecca Minkoff, who's had some major, am I tuning out? Major industry experience, and you know, lived a big fashion life, and she's an expert in textiles, and she's an educator too. So when she told me all this, she said, you know, I actually even own a loom. And so tonight, Alexis is going to show us how textiles are woven on a mini cute little loom that she brought. That's actually like this vintage loom. So after we hear her, we're going to walk over to our cutting table and we're going to see what, you know, what weaving looks like. So if you're watching online, you can't experience that part of it. You actually have to come physically to these things to see it. Nate, do you have a question? It's okay. Oh, anybody have a gray Honda here? Okay, I think we got it. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, there's so much to learn from Alexis. So let's give her a round of applause for being here and sharing her story tonight. Come on up. Yes, come on up. So you're going to be right here, and this is going to be you. And as you can tell, these are very like casual chats. There's no script here. This is just a gathering of friends. So we're just going to talk. And we haven't done any planning. I just had her load up a whole bunch of photos so that she could share her story. So at the end, I'll open it up for anybody to ask questions. And this is a lot of detail I've never even heard too. So I'm honestly going to be asking the questions that I want to know. Hopefully that gets down to the bottom of some of the things you want to know as well. So I always ask every person who does this with me to first tell me a little bit about you as baby Alexis. Like, what were you like before you grew up into fashion, Alexis?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is such a cool experience. Thank you guys for coming. This is really awesome. Yeah, so basically, I grew up in New York, and there I am with my mother. Yeah, and they're dressed up as Pocahontas. Yeah, and there's
You're
my
so
husband.
cute.
Yeah. So basically, I grew up in New York. I was raised by a single parent, and also by my grandparents. You know, it was really tough. You know, my father wasn't really around, so my grandparents basically became like my parents in a sense. But I always knew I wanted to work in fashion. So basically, I used to crochet like little clothing for my Barbies.
How
And
come
like
that's everybody's story? Like every single designer says, I used to make Barbie clothes, right?
Yeah, and I still love Barbie, and she's just so beautiful. And like I used to make blankets. I used to build a house for her. Like I made a cardboard box for her. Like it just sounds insane, but obviously, but yeah. But since being like raised by a single parent, I couldn't really afford the Barbie dream house, which is really funny. But
she lived in a cardboard box.
Yeah, she did. So I basically built it out of cardboard, and then I made crochet clothing. She had a whole wardrobe. And then I made the little blankets and the pillows, and I would stuff it with filling, and yeah, it was fun.
So when you were little, you were crocheting?
Yes, my mom taught me how to crochet. So basically, I grew up with a family of artists. My grandfather did architecture. He worked for the building of, you know, the state of New York as a plumbing inspector. So he would inspect buildings, but he also had to draw floor plans. So like the technical stuff I learned from him. And my mom, I learned the crochet, painting, like sculpting with Play-Doh and all that.
You know, a lot of people who are in the fashion industry tend to have like roots in architecture or engineering, I've noticed. I think it's synonymous kind of part of the brain or something.
It's like sort of like tech, you
Yeah.
know, and you're like, oh, I know the structure, I understand, you know. But the cool part, my grandmother attended Pratt. She majored in fashion design and also modeled. So she was like a model. She was gorgeous, like just stunning. I wish I had a photo of her, but she looked like, who she looked like? She looked like, like my name is, I can't figure out this actress's name, but she was gorgeous. Like she had beautiful red lips, like bow lips, and just
Mae
gorgeous.
West
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, she was stunning. Actually, she sort of looked like Jane Russell.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she just was so voluptuous and beautiful. Yeah. But anyway, so I just want to show. So basically, my
Hold it
aunt.
real
Oh, my aunt has therapy animals. Those are her Pomeranians. We visit upstate and see her beautiful little animals. Yeah, just animals are just such a big part of my life. I love dogs. I used to have frogs. I just have, and then a great aunt, or it was on my husband's side, but they have a farm. I've always been around animals. I love horses. I used to go horseback riding, just like always been very in tune. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like
Yeah.
not something you would think of when you think of New York.
I know. Well, that's like upstate New York. Yeah.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to hand this over to you because
Oh,
I want
sure.
you to be able to control this
Oh.
in case, we go out of order or whatever. You
Oh.
can go back to different things. So now that we kind of understand where you're from and a little bit
Yes.
about your family, how did you end up getting to be working in the industry?
I was an advanced art in high school. I went to a specialized art in drama high school, and I got in early admission to FIT. I had to create a whole portfolio for Pratt Portfolio Day. So initially, I met someone at FIT who saw my whole portfolio and said, "Wow, there's so much texture and sort of like patterns in here. Like you'd be perfect for textile surface design or even fashion design." Because there was like sort of my work was sort of technical, but it was also had a lot of patterns. And so he referred me, and I got in early admission. So I knew a year before I graduated high school that I was at FIT, which was really an awesome experience. But it was always building up to that point because I always wanted to be a fashion designer. I always wanted to design fabric and just in general.
So
Yeah.
prints in general are kind of your thing?
Yeah, prints, fabric, like weaving fabric, and just designing fabric, sourcing fabric. It's an obsession. So yeah,
Amazing. You knew that
Yeah.
early, it sounds like.
yeah, and it was in my work, and initially I didn't see it until I met this guy at FIT. Who,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay, well, great.
and then there I am at FIT graduation day,
so what year are we talking?
2011.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, so did a whole project on decomposing flowers, but it was also a fair, it was a job fair as well. So I met someone in the fashion design department. I got a job right out of college. So I knew about a couple of months before I graduated that I already had a job like lined up for me. So I ended up at silks, knits, all kinds of fabric.
So you
Yeah.
got to design
Yes.
the weave itself.
Yes. So
Okay,
the actual fabric.
Let's back up
Yeah.
because for students that maybe are new or people who aren't fashion industry experts, let's talk a little bit about textiles and the difference between knits and wovens and how fiber turns into yarn and then into textiles. Just a basic overview so that somebody can kind of really grasp what you did.
So basically, everything starts out as like a fiber. So for example, like silkworms, they're like in a little ball. They weave themselves into a ball and they die, unfortunately. But that thread is put through a spinneret and it's turned into an actual thread. And it's a whole process, some of it chemical, that these threads gather and they turn into actual pieces of fabric. They spin them. They go through some other chemical processes for color, even like I guess a neutralizer, so it's not as wavy because some silk is a little wavy, and taffeta and all kinds of different silks. But that's what they do. And like I've been to so many textile mills. I've been to China. Oops, I think I did this wrong. Oh, so yeah. So I've traveled a lot internationally to fabric mills to see the development and also to develop fabric as well. So it's very technical, but we would also design by every season. So that'd be new colors, certain dyes that we would have to look color. So yeah.
So we kind of breezed over. So when you start with the fiber, like if you look in the back of your shirt right now and it says 100% silk, or it says cotton, or a mix of poly and nylon, or whatever, that's your fiber. It could be man-made. It could be a combination of both. And then those fibers are twisted together to create yarns, which look like thread.
Yes.
Then those are either woven or knitted into the textile. So the mills will they'll invent textiles, and the mix is, the possibilities are endless. Imagine all the combinations you can have between the fiber itself, the way that the yarn is twisted, the weight of the yarn, the way that it's then woven or knitted, which are two completely different fabrics. So a weave, which we're going to see done. Thank you for bringing the loom. It's going to help make this understandable. Is like a basket. You've got yarns going this way, yarns going this way, and you're creating a textile that way. You're weaving them over and over. Over, under, over, under.
Yeah.
A knit are loops, kind of like a sweater. You see your grandma knitting a sweater or whatever. That's what your t-shirt looks like under a microscope. It's just tiny threads that are just, kind of looping. And that's why it stretches, because you've got a loop that's going to be stretched and turned into a straight line and then recover back into its loop form. Whereas a woven doesn't normally stretch because it's just a straight line, right?
It's more tighter and compact. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you add elastic and then you add a little bit like stretch jeans, denim. So when somebody talks about textiles, I think a lot of times the public gets a little confused and they're like, I don't know, I just want it to be cotton. But if you think about it, cotton could be your jeans, cotton could be your t-shirt. Those are two different fabrics, right? So you have to understand a little bit more about a textile to really speak the language and to understand the uses, because the fiber, cotton or silk or whatever, is a fraction of what we're talking about here. It's a lot more than that. And so a textile designer is not necessarily a print designer. They can be designing the graphics that go on the final fabric or woven into it. But to design a textile, you're thinking about the fiber content, the yarns, the way it's woven together, the way it's knitted together, whatever, the construction to create a brand new textile. That's amazing. That's engineering.
And I think that's where my architecture comes in, is because of it's so structurally complex to develop fabric, to even knit a sweater, because you need a pattern to start. So like the foundation is the actual pattern. I mean, like a plain weave or even your denim. I mean, so most denims is a twill. So that's what they weave on the loom. And then they, of course, dye it blue and they use white thread. But it gets so technical. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not only that, there's so many different weights of fabric, and then seasonally. So that's the thing. So seasonally, I would design fabric every season, or 4 seasons. There's a pre-fall, pre-spring. And, it got very technical because some mills would design specialty fabric that would be imported from Italy, or these Italian manufacturers would design the thread. So sometimes you'd have to order the thread beforehand before you make. So for example, Chanel jackets, right? That's a very technical thread, the way it's made, different dye lots. They use metallic sometimes. So that is specialized, highly specialized. And then they go to Paris or they go to Italy and they design these beautiful coats and jackets, So yeah.
So tell the audience a little bit about if you're custom making a textile, that company, that's their IP. Like they own that, right?
I guess they're a subcontractor for it. So it doesn't always. So for example, so Chanel owns that fabric. Whatever which way they make it. So there's different weaves. They can make a twill, they can make a plain weave that's texturized. But then, when there's Walmart and there's like other brands, it's like they sort of order whatever is on hand. So there's different levels. So I've worked high end, mid end, and low end, which all have their own complications, but overall they have different dye lots. They have different weights of fabric they order. For example, like you're saying with the poly span, the denim, for example, Walmart, I designed, was it like Missy and plus size, and maternity, denim, right? So those had a specific fabric they use, because obviously you're having a baby, it has to be a certain type of fabric. So that was mostly poly span. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
like stop you on your
Oh,
journey.
yeah,
I
no
just wanted to
problem.
make
Yeah,
sure everybody
yeah.
understood the complexity
Yes,
of what
yeah.
you were doing right out of school.
Need a degree. So it's a very technical. I mean, obviously, like they give us all these fabric science books, like when I was in college, and like and I'm still learning. And this is like about 15 years ago. I graduated, and I'm still learning every day. There's so
I
many.
have those fabric
Yeah.
science books in our library over there if you want to go like revisit.
Sure. Yeah. I have so many at home.
bet.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, and it's crazy because like when you're designing, there's always sometimes you're like, wow, I didn't know that. And that's what I love about fashion and textiles. There's always something to learn. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly researching. Even annoying the manufacturer. I'm like, how is this made? Like but probably the most difficult is designing fabric for a client. It was custom. So like, for example, the Chanel. So like what people don't know is that Chanel jacket fabric is ordered months in advance, like at least maybe 6 months to maybe, I don't know, 3 months. So it's custom, like everything's dyed, with a Pantone, and it takes a long time, that's why sometimes like, on the other end, the clients complain that it takes too long, but it actually doesn't. Because
Thank you for saying
it actually doesn't, because it takes a lot of technicality to make this and then ship it over. And mostly the fabric can be done in like 2 to 6 weeks, and then basically it's ship time you're waiting for. You're basically waiting 8 to 20 days, depending on where
and
it's coming from.
If you're Chanel, you're not waiting in line.
You're not waiting. You're getting that.
You're a small brand. You're waiting for Chanel to finish their stuff before they'll look at you.
You're getting that overnighted. Like that's what's happening. That fabric is like happening on the runway that day. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've designed some custom fabric for like Tayskin's Theory, and I've like actual taffeta and like all this very complex textured fabrics, and like I've sourced that and designed it, and assigned Pantones, and it gets very complicated because they expect it for that runway. It has to be on the runway. That's why it's sort of temperamental, But now, yeah.
So whenever I've designed something, I've gone to a textile show and I've just sourced from the existing offerings that the different providers, the vendors are offering, the mills, the converters, the people that are there.
Yeah.
And that's the likelihood of a small brand. You're just looking at what's there and you're going, I think I'll try that. I like that. And what are your minimums and how much does it cost and all of that stuff. Yeah. But to be able to have that freedom to be able to make your own textile, that is another level. I mean, you have to be a big brand to be able to do that and to meet the minimums at a factory. Yeah. So you've got to have this amazing experience, like in engineering, what that looks like. I don't even have a clue what that's like. I've never designed my own like weave from scratch, and said, oh, I want 2 yarns this way and 5 this way and this much, tension and
Don't
stuff
worry,
like that.
I'll teach you. I'll teach you. You can make your own fabric now.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
But it's so funny you were mentioning, for a smaller brand, basically, they're slower. Like they don't have to deal with runway, depending on the small brand, if they're not high end. So the thing is, they could choose whatever fabric they want. So it's like they're not constricted to design a new fabric. Like I guess, like you were saying, the IP, Chanel has a contract basically to like do that. It's different laws, I guess. I don't know. That's a whole other ball game. So
you probably had nothing to do with the legal part of that.
Well, some, but not much. Joey's dragged in. But here I am in China. This was about 15 years ago. I was in Shanghai, and also the rural countryside of Yaoshan, where I caught my own fish at a restaurant. Ate it for dinner.
No way.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was there for like a month, and it was so cool. And like some of these malls, they're the size of baseball, or football fields, like 5 football. This part was when I arrived, my suitcase broke. My clothing was out in the airline, and it was horrible. My coworkers came and they picked me up, and then we went to the mall, and this mall was huge. It was like, I don't know, 5 football stadiums. It was insane. But it was really funny. I'm like, I'm scrambling. I'm picking up a month, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? But yeah, it was really fun. Wow. And like the food is amazing. The seafood's amazing. I loved China. I mean, they were just so hospitable and sweet.
Who did you go for?
I went for the textile manufacturer I worked for. So like so basically I would help develop tech packs. I would source fabric. Rebecca Minkoff, all these brands, Rebecca Taylor. So like just for them to monitor the production. So that was the lots are correct for looking at something color matching fabrics and like looking at a light, like a light box. So stuff like that, like got very technical, where I'm just like, okay, so like I would supervise the actual garments being made and like it was really great experience just to see how everything's made. I also got to see silkworms, which was really cool. And they were like alive and crawling and they were turning themselves into like, a ball, which was sort of sad and beautiful at the same time, but it was like and I saw all the thread come out of the worms itself. It was amazing. It was such a beautiful experience. And I actually have a silkworm. So like I just moved, I'm sorry, but like I was going to bring the silkworm, but I have one.
Oh my God.
And it was really cute. They're like so fuzzy.
They let you take one home?
Yes, they did. And it was really cute.
You got that through customs?
Yeah,
okay.
I did. Yeah. That was about 15 years ago. So I don't know if it changed, but I won't tell anyone.
No one knows.
Yeah, but yeah, it was amazing. I saw the cashmere being made and turned into fabric, the actual threads and everything. And I saw some like sheep and llamas, and they had like I was in the rural countryside, and it was just such an amazing experience. Yeah.
Wow.
was
Okay.
really
So
cool.
the company you worked for
Yeah.
provided the textiles
Yes.
to the brands. And so the brands would come and say, hey, we want this textile. We want it to be like this, look like this, blah, blah, blah. And then you would be in charge of making that happen.
Yes.
And then also making the garment happen too.
Yes.
It's not just the textile.
So everything like making the tech pack. I attend a bunch of fittings for the garments itself, making sure they were to the designers, date lines and like the calendar. So they would have like all these calendars for like the next collections coming out, and I would manage, I was basically like a fabric manager / production manager. So basically just following the calendar, making sure their garments get shipped on time to their facilities and then put in the stores. So there was everything. Wow. Yeah. So like I was just like,
Okay,
hounding these people.
Was your first job out of school?
This is my first job out of school. And then yeah, it sort of bridged the way to the other stuff that I've done. Yeah, this is some of the fabric. Yeah. So this is basically the fabric and the garments that I've designed. I think the top dress is Rebecca Taylor, I want to say. And then the ombre is Theory. And then also I would design custom gowns for Ralph Lauren as well. So I would design the repeats for the the embellishments for the dresses, and then also help them dye it as well. Like if they wanted like a taupe dress, or if they wanted like a black certain type of like a navy dress or something, like whatever they wanted. So for each season, so that would be for holiday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What an experience. Like, so many big brands.
Yeah. And I mean, it was really cool. Like, I mean, every season, like I would pick new colors, based on the trend forecasting, like WGSN or Fashion Snoops, and just sort of get a feel, and color match fabric for the designer's requests, like stuff like that, and be like, oh, well, they want a certain type of navy. I got to make sure that it's the right color in the light box,
Oh my God. Wait, we have to talk about this. When I first moved back here to Arizona, I was looking for a fashion job, and there's not a lot of places to work, in Arizona. I ended up at Antigua, the golf manufacturer.
Yeah.
And like golf clothing. I mean, it's not my thing, right? But that was the job. So my job was to compare the colors from the different vendors from all the different countries that we worked with. So when we got like a red, polo style shirt, and we have to compare the different reds because they're going to hang on a rack together in a store, and you just got to make sure that each dye lot turned out the same. You cannot have like a colorblind father, apparently, if you're going to be doing this job, because
oh my gosh.
I'm looking under this light box, and these reds look exactly the same to me. I'm not colorblind, but my dad is, and my son is. So I have the gene, apparently. Wow. And I think I can see colors just fine. I've never been diagnosed like colorblind, right? But no, this is special. Wow. You have to be able to see the difference on the microscopic level under this light box. So the person training me is like, no, this red has a little bit more blue in it than this one does. I'm like, yeah, sure, try to keep my job, you know? And eventually I'm like, I can't keep this job. I can't see these colors. Like, it's impossible. I don't even get it.
You know, it's crazy. Like in FIT, they trained us how to color match. So they made us take color matching classes.
Wow.
Even just well, obviously I got an A+ in it, but they had certain colors against certain backgrounds. So with gray, you could see where the blue is, like in a red, and like they would do all these different slides that you had to paint with gouache, actually, and then color match it, and like use your eyedropper with the water, make sure it's like a certain consistency, and yeah.
That's the class I missed in school.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah.
That's crazy. What a job. Okay. All right.
Let's see now. Alrighty, this is my work. So I would design embroideries and embellishments. The top left is rag and bone. This was for sort of I guess like they had like those sort of like army jackets that had the embellishment on the shoulder, and
the
like
epaulette?
yes, like they would have all that sort of stuff, sort of like, you know, army, and I would design, like help design the embroideries and the embellishments for that, and then also source fabric for them for the jacket, and you know, like I'd help them build the tech pack. So yeah. And then source the from, you know, China or Italy or something on the project. It was really cool.
Wow.
And then Rebecca Minkoff, I would help with the tech packs. You know, I would sit at the fittings, and then we, you know, we went through so many fittings. Make sure that it was correct, that it fit on everyone, and you know, it's a lot of work because it's like you have to have the right zipper, and so also that's the other thing. So jackets, they want the zippers to be dyed to match technicalities with it. So like you have to make sure everything's the same color, and that's, you know, like, yeah.
So this is another great place.
Yeah.
I was about to say about that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you start, and then I want to
No.
weigh in on the between a big brand's kind of tech pack working with overseas and a small brand's kind of tech. They're kind of two different things. So go ahead.
So basically, it's like the reading manual for power tools. It's the reading manual for the fashion, like layout for like a jacket. So it's like the thing for the season, and it has to be correct, and it has to be made. Like, okay, for example, they pick a jacket. Let's just say it's a taupe army jacket, right? It has to be that color taupe, depending on the Pantone. The zipper has to match. That has to be dyed to match. So it's like all these technicalities that you don't really think about have to be, you know, as per the designer's vision. So it's like all these, even down to the button. The button also is sourced as well, which I've also done. So it's like the button, the snap, every technicality, even the thread has to be exact, or it has to match the fabric. So it's like every aspect of that. It's like building a power tool.
Building a house. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's-
I always
yeah,
say it's
yeah,
like building a house. It's the
yeah,
architectural blueprints that go along with the house,
Yeah.
and all the instructions. It's every
Yeah.
minute detail so that it can be replicated and matched every single time. It can be
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Like it has to be cut and sewed the same way. The thing is, I would do quality control. That's a very tough job, because once you receive that box of items and they aren't the same, you measure them and they're not the same fitting. It's like really insane and not fun to go through that box and make sure the fabric's the same color, and like it's really technical, you know, and it's like everything, you know, yeah.
So the tech pack for a big brand is done ahead of time. They're putting in, so a tech pack, imagine an Excel spreadsheet that has multiple tabs. Each tab is something different. One tab is like the BOM, the bill of materials. So it lists all the fabrics and trims that she was talking about, like the lining, the contrast fabrics, the self fabric, which is the main fabric, all the fabrics, all the trims, the buttons, the zippers, the thread, the labels, the care label, the everything. Then there's a tab for the measurements. Those are called your specs. So you've got every point of measure on this garment. There's like 50 points of measure that you have to have in there for every single size, you know, that it grows between each size. There's going to be the technical drawing, which is called a flat. And it's like an architectural drawing of the clothes. It's not your fun fashion figure. It's like a black and white, shows every single stitch that's on there, you know, and where it's placed and the construction seams and stuff like that. And there's an order of operations. This is what you sew first, then you sew second, then you sew third, then you sew fourth. This is the seam that you use to do that. This is the ASTM ISO number for that seam. I mean, it's like so incredibly detailed. If you're not in fashion, you have no idea that this is even a thing, right? So you send that to a factory overseas, and these are like your instructions. Like, this is what you want it to be. So then they try to do it. They try to find that button that's going to match, try to dye that zipper. They try to like find that fabric and blah, blah, blah. And then they send you back the sample, and then you QC it and you spec it and you check and you tell them what to change about it and so forth. When you're a small brand, you are basically the one sourcing those materials. You're finding your fabrics, you're finding your trims, you're hiring a pattern maker that needs to know what your specs are, that needs to see your flat sketch, that need, you know, all that. You have to find all the fabrics and trims. You have to hire a sample maker to make that. Then you have to update the tech pack when your sample comes back wrong and it's like, it doesn't fit right. And now you have to change your specs, and you have to change the button that you didn't work, or the fabric that didn't drape right. And so you have to know what your tech pack is, because you have to make sure that like each time a revision is made, the tech pack is updated so that you end up with a final batch of documents that now goes to whoever is going to make it in multiples, and they can follow it. Can go, oh, we're going to set up the assembly line so these people are all sewing the shoulders, and that's our first step. And this is our second step, and so forth. And so it's a little different when you're a small brand versus a big brand, but you got to know what you're doing in order to get clothing made, is my point, right? You have to know what you're looking at and understand it.
It's crazy how many fittings, because I mean, you could have up to like 5 fittings sometimes, like depending on how complicated the sample is. It's insane. I once had a jacket like 5 or 6 fittings because, you know, it wasn't right. It didn't sit right on the shoulder, and it gets technical.
Thank you for saying that too, because everybody thinks the first one's going to come out perfect.
It doesn't.
30 years
I'm sorry, guys.
I've never seen the first one come out perfect. Not once, not for thousands of people. So
no, I mean, it's a trial and error process. You know, usually by the second and third, you know, it's near close to your vision, but not always, you know. Yeah.
That's such a good point. Thank you.
I just want to show some of
This was your third job?
Oh, this was the same job, in China,
Okay.
Going to China.
Got it.
So so actually, no, never mind. Sorry, this is mixed. So this was my second job. So I ended up in lower ends like Walmart, Target, you know, that sort of stuff, like Macy's, and maternity and plus size clothing. So that was mostly. I had a maternity model and upload to Amazon, and I dealt with Amazon buyers and Walmart buyers, and like they would tell me what colors they wanted each season for the dresses and all the jeans and stuff. But yeah, this is just an example. I helped design their Amazon A+ content. So like just uploading the photos, I would direct the photo shoot. So this is like my pivot where I ended up in e-commerce. So the designers were like, okay, we really like the eye you have and how you take photos and send it to the salesman. So like the salesman samples, for whatever reason, they were like, we love the way you take these photos. We just like how you model it. We want you on the e-com side. So I just sort of pivoted, and I ended up directing photo shoots for like Amazon, for like Walmart. I would tell them how I wanted the garments photographed. I would make sure I would color correct the photos and make sure that they match the fabric. So that's also another thing. So sometimes they take photos and they're not realistic to the actual color of the garment itself, which, I mean, that's another thing, you know. But sometimes, you know, photographers can't color match fabric. So that's why I was brought in, and I was like, okay, guys, well, this fabric doesn't look like that red, does not look like that red. So guys, you have to redo it, you know. Yeah.
It looks different on every computer too.
It does, yeah. If you have more blue hue computer or whatever, you're under fluorescent lighting. So like, you know, obviously going back to the light box, and, you know, or even like if it's on the shelf and it's on with fluorescent lighting and it doesn't look like, yeah, it's just many factors, you know, to that red.
So that's crazy. How far in are we now in your career that you started pivoting to this?
Oh, this was about maybe 2-3 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is good for all you students that are thinking about getting into this industry. You move quickly. Like everyone I've ever interviewed, and even my own experience, is like you get promoted pretty quickly because, I don't know, I feel like the industry, they like young people, first of all. So, you know, you're always much more, I don't know, up with the trends when you're younger. And so like you get moved up to these positions. You get in and then you just keep moving up.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you're like a CEO or something, you
Yeah.
know, at 22, you know, it's crazy.
Well, these days, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
You just got to
crazy.
get the right foot in the right door.
Exactly.
You know, that's it.
So here's the sad part of my interview. My grandfather got sick with cancer, lung cancer, who was my mentor. And I ended up not in textiles, but in tiles, in the tile industry. And I had to move back closer to home to take care of him and you know, be with him. And it was very sad. You know, I was like working on 7th Avenue and I was, you know, had a career there, but I had to take a pivot again. And, you know, life happens and, life is like a wave. You just got to follow, you just got to like just persevere, and then obviously be there for your family. You know what I mean? And also it's important to, 15 years, it's okay to pivot and do something. So that's basically where, the architecture came into play of actually measuring garments, doing fittings, so I started I became a kitchen designer and I was designing bathrooms and subway designs and all this stuff. Like, yeah. So I
I
was
don't even understand how you went from that to that.
well, it's like I was designing the layout of the tile for like people's kitchens and either in their bathrooms. So
You're like, oh, herringbone. I'm familiar with that.
Exactly.
I
mean, yeah. I mean, I started sourcing glass tile. People would give me, different color tile. Be like, look, this is, well, for example, I photographed this woman came in. She had tile, Dutch tile that was her mother's from like the 50s, right? So I helped her design her fireplace and rearranged it with other tile to match. So it's like, the thing is that some of your design skills can come into play, and just get tied in.
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened was that I was like, okay, well, my design color matching skills and all the technical measuring came into play. And, it was very sad. He passed away suddenly. And then like, it was just really sad. Yeah.
Wow. You know, we have very parallel lives because your grandparents raised you and your mom was a single mom. Same. Went to LA, I worked in the LA industry, and then I had to come home because my grandma passed away, and I came back to take care of my grandfather, and I had to pivot. I feel like it's like the exact same story.
Oh my gosh,
That's
you're my
crazy.
twin.
I was on the West Coast, and you're on the East
You're
Coast.
my twinsy, yeah. But
it's
just sad how that happens. You gotta take care of family.
Like it leads to whatever it's supposed to.
And you just gotta, my grandfather always told me to ride the wave, and not get intimidated when, something happens and just go with the flow.
Yes.
And sometimes, you're sort of brought to your knees and you just have to just go with it.
Yes.
We know
all about that.
But yeah, that's crazy, and
Weird.
I mean, hey, if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have developed this awesome place. So
That's
thank you.
What I'm saying. It all happens for a reason,
so that's
right?
it just all ties in and that's, you just learn from
just
it.
Go to where it just takes you where you're meant to be.
You meant to be home.
Yes.
So here's the other side of my story, which is also equally frustrating. So my husband Jared is here with a dog. So this is a very long story. So buckle up. So I'm working at the tile place and there is infestation of fleas. Tile like showroom, it completely, like all this tile that how would fleas travel, right? So my coworker was going down getting boxes of tile from the basement and she's itchy. I'm like, oh no. So basically we all got fleas. So I got fleas, my coworker got fleas, and so did my the owners too. It was really horrible. So here I'm like itching horribly. They had to shut down the store for like a week and a half to fumigate, and it was crazy. It was so gross. And I was like, I've never had fleas, and even though I'm an animal person, I had never had fleas at that point. It was so gross, and I did not know that. Like, how did they travel? They traveled on my coworker, and so this is so funny. So after that happened the same day, because I closed down the store, we went to CVS and we saw a client there. So we were going, we were friends and we were going out together to go get, bacitracin and all like, the stuff used for chicken pox, right? So we were going to put it on each other's bodies for each other. And we get there and there's this old guy and he comes and he's like, "Oh, guys, I want to talk about my tile work next week." And we're like, "Oh no." So we're itching, we're trying not to itch. And the guy is next to us. And it was, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. So we're itching, we're red. We're like, "Okay, we have to go pick up something from CVS. Bye." So we like popped out. Yeah.
Oh, gross.
It was so nasty and I was itchy. It was like the first time I ever had fleas, and I have had animals my entire life.
Oh.
So it was nasty. Yeah. Then the other thing, this is wild. So at the tile store, there was a lot of activity at this tile store. So what do you know? The next 2 weeks, there was a film shoot. Okay. So after getting over itching and looking red and gross, there was a movie with Naomi Watts and that guy from Breaking Bad. It was called The Book of Henry. And so they were down the streets and it was really hard to get through. But yeah, I met Naomi Watts, obviously photographed here. She wasn't very friendly, but she was probably in character and didn't want to be bothered. So, which I totally respect. There was the kitchen. I forgot the name. They had the food kitchen thing outside. Craft services.
Craft
That's
service,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
So there's craft services. So this was so funny. My husband was making fun of me, but I met Colin Trevorrow, or I forgot his name, and I met Hank from Breaking Bad. So it was like the bald guy, Dan Norris. I don't know. I'm really bad with names, but yeah. So they were talking to me. They were asking me where to get pizza and around town and what type of food. So I'm talking to the director, who's this like really famous guy, both of them, and I thought they were firemen. So the thing is, they were dressed down because it was a film shoot. It was really strange, but like there was so much activity at this place.
You're asking the producer for directions.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, where do I get pizza?" And like my husband was like so jealous. He was like, "Wow, you just got to speak to a major director and you got to see Naomi Watts. Like, can I come?" It was so strange. Yeah.
So the tile place turned out to be a little sketch, but at the same time,
Yeah.
led to some cool things.
Exactly. I use some of my technical skills, so that's good. So basically, I'm just going to explain a few things. So there's this thing called texture mapping. So in fashion and home furnishings, they basically use you overlap your textile pattern onto it. So they do that a lot in home furnishing. So this is just an example of some of the work, some of the prints I've made. I also just sort of my hobbies, but I know it sounds funny, but I'll try it almost once. That's just how I am. But I designed, this is a wine cork chair that I had designed by a friend of mine who works for Anthropology and Free People. He's a set designer and he designs their sets and stuff like that. So, which was really cool.
That would be such a fun job.
Yeah, it was really cool. Photo shoots and like the props. Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. And then I got into bag designing. I crochet. I also got into leather working, and I designed a few. This is sort of like leading, So basically, I also had a candle company that was relatively successful during COVID. I was designing purses, and also I was selling them to my friends, which sounds really funny. And I was also designing pillows and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very entrepreneurial, like just in general. So yeah.
And crafty.
And crafty, yeah. And let's see. Oh, so I ended up back in the fashion industry because, obviously COVID was like just, shut down. I was working on LA in the fashion district, but that company went out of business during COVID. So like once it was like 2021, I was able to like, get. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. So cross country from New York to LA. I got a job there immediately. LA fashion district. Just like also doing graphic design work, directing photo shoots, designing prints and fabrics and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. And here's some of it. So basically, this is where I started getting into sustainable fashion. I worked for a brand called LMS by Lena Mayorga. And so basically, unisex clothing that is sort of like reversible, so reversible vests, quilted athleisure jackets, so these are like eco-tech fabric, recycled nylon, spandex, some poly. So just, I met, so it's funny, I met her off of Facebook of all places, just randomly. So there was like an ad that was like, oh, talk about your experience in sustainable fashion. I was like, all right. So I met this woman randomly and then she ended up hiring me. So basically most of the jobs have only had word of mouth. I really never had to like aggressively find a job like that. Yeah, it was very strange, but like that's
you
what
have a good resume too.
Yeah,
like all that experience on there.
yeah. So I mean, it's like that's why I was like, oh, I never had built a website. Now I'm forced to build a website. So it's like just and the thing is, you're that's another thing is that your career goes through ebbs and flows, and things change, and you just gotta go with the flow. Basically, because if you're being pulled one way, just go with it and not be stressed out about it. Sort of like love over fear.
I feel like that's a running theme throughout every one of these interviews. Everybody goes to all over the place, and then just like life takes them into all these interesting
because
jobs.
I didn't think I was going to get back into fashion. I mean, that was the funniest part is like COVID, and I ended up having my own candle business, which was very successful on Poshmark of all places. Wow. I had like thousands of reviews, like 5-star reviews. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this for a while. And then I'm like summoned back to what I love. I love clothing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
You ended up back.
Yeah. And then now I am consulting with brands, Warner Brothers, Olipop, Adobe. I ended up in tech and also fashion. So I'm doing both. I've done photo shoots with 12th Tribe. I've done graphic design work for them as well, social media management. So that was another pivot. So basically, during COVID as well, not only, while that job, like, during COVID, I got hired as a marketing director and I would design the A+ content on Amazon. So I really got sort of like, I don't know, summoned to the tech industry. I don't know, where I'm just managing, certain clients, like Walmart and stuff, and I'm doing all these mixed things. It's really exciting. Just sort of consulting. They asked me about colors. They asked me about websites. What do they think about the website design? And like I've just became in tech now, so it's tech and fashion.
So you're actually you're doing social media marketing and you're building people's sites too?
Yeah, like a mix. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I'm doing a bit of everything. Yeah. So I ended up so this is going to sound really funny, but I ended up in like beta testing and sort of designing UI for tech. Of all places. So it's very it's funny. I love it. Like it's so much fun.
How did you learn this?
So I mean, I have a graphic design background. So at FIT, so for the textile department, not only do they teach you how to weave, but they teach you how to use programs like Photoshop. I use Canva too, and like I'm just a very quick learner. I've always so that's I guess that's part of the architecture side. Is like I've always been able to learn new programs very quickly. And then like I just ended up in tech. So that's what I'm doing. I have other work. I signed NDAs. I can't say anything about it, but yeah, that's where I ended up.
Wow, this is crazy.
But yeah, anything's possible. You just got to go with the flow. Basically, that's my best advice.
So right now you're hireable as like a contractor that somebody can hire to help them source and like their factories.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I'm doing. So I have a website. It's Mended Apparel. So I basically teach designers how to source fabric sustainably. I also work with production facilities, domestically. I mean, some internationally, but mostly domestically now to develop garments and collections. So that's what I've also been summoned to do. And that's my background. I could source pretty much about anything because I have so much experience doing it. But yeah, mainly, so like companies like Madewell, like their fabrics, they're like eco-friendly. That's basically what I help source is those eco-tech fabrics, those specialized fabrics, those recycled cotton polyester fabrics. So yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got a sourcing library here. So if you, and we're talking about actually becoming like making her one of our affiliate partners. We have a lot of different contractors and partners and stuff that help people with everything from pattern making to sewing to sourcing and stuff. So when you come through Fabric and you get to the point where you need to source your stuff, we have a free sourcing library here that has all the swatches from all the vendors, and it has the zippers and the buttons, and you can look at the tape colors and see if it's matching your fabric, and have her help you figure out which one you should go with and everything. She's going to be one of our affiliate partners to be able to do that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we were
I'm so
talking about that. We
excited.
just haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but we'll get
Yay,
there.
awesome. Yay. I'm just transferring my LLC, so it's a process. I was in California, now I'm in Arizona. So everything's a process. You just got to go with it.
Go with the flow.
Yeah. And there I am. So I helped my client display at Vegan Fashion Week. So like Runway, this is Lena Mayoga, and that was Vegan Fashion Week 2023. But yeah, basically, I attend trade shows, I source fabrics, I help clients just design and get an idea of their collection, whether it's color or even like just consulting about, is this fabric like realistic to my brand and just like so forth. I mean, we went through so many samples for her collection. It was just like nonstop, because depending. So the thing is, if your garment's really technical, it's going to take a lot of tries, a lot of fittings and stuff, samples. Yeah. So yeah, and then also I'm part of the New York City Citizens Climate Lobby. So basically, we help pass laws. So these fabric laws for like sustainable recycled fabrics. I mean, they get passed in New York State. I attend, Zooms every, I think like every end of the month or beginning of the month, we sort of change. But yeah, so we lobby with the senators, and we talk to people, and we, spread the word about it. So basically, we call these people up and say, hey, look, like we want this law to be passed. This is what this X, Y, and Z, why this should be passed, and basically, not create landfills and clean up landfills, and just recycle fabric, and really, I mean, just change the whole way that you recycle fabric.
So one of the acts that she's talking about is the Fashion Act.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And maybe you've heard of it. There's a lot of movement towards putting in laws and policy towards making brands accountable for the waste, making finding ways to be more transparent and things like that. And you kind of have to force change. And so it takes policy to be able to do that, because no one's going to change if, we're all still buying cheap clothing from these brands. They have no motivation to do that. And so you'll see a lot of that happening right now already in Europe. There's two really big things that just happened that are going to obviously trickle down over to us. That's always the way that it happens. But the Fashion Act is a big push towards that in New York City. So she's on the committee that tries to get people to pass that stuff.
Yeah, which I mean, you basically call up these people and leave messages screaming. So that's what I do. So,
That's cool.
And then here's my loom. So for, just purposes of what this is. So it's an art loom, a Structo loom from the 1960s, given to like veterans. So these types of looms, therapy. So I feel like weaving is like therapy, for everyone. It's very relaxing. It's very meditative. And yeah, I could show you right now.
Well, tell us about the parts.
Oh yes. Okay. So the top, it's called a castle. So that's basically the base of the loom. And then the middle part. So basically, there's little levers that control the heddles. So it's basically how you create a pattern. So you have to thread it out like a certain way. So like each one has different threads that it goes through, and it follows a pattern. So for example, if you're doing an Italian diamond, it follows a diamond shape. So it's like you basically have to put the threads through the warp. So it's basically, there's the warp and there's the weft. The warp is basically the foundation of the fabric, and then the horizontally is the weft that you have to push through. Beater to beat the thread through the reed. So basically, threads go through the reed, and then it's tied to the loom, so it's like together. So basically, you stuff the thread in with, you put the thread in and beat it. Yeah.
loom. We're going to walk over there in just a second. And it's so tiny.
it's made, so it's 4 harnesses. So you're a little bit limited. Usually, so there's other types of looms that are like 8. Basically, like a few hundred weaves. The thing is, when you get more technical, which is the jacquard territory, that's more, harnesses and stuff. So that's more
when
like,
you're designing the picture. You're weaving
Yeah.
the picture into
Yeah.
the fabric. You're not
Yeah.
printing it. You know what I mean? Like some
Yeah.
yarns are a different color,
Yeah.
and then they create like a flower or
Yeah.
whatever.
So that's more technical, and that's usually programmed. There's this program I used to use called Textiles. It's a French program where they sort of program the jacquards how to weave. So yeah.
But it's only yay big, so you can make
Yeah.
like a scarf or something, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So it's about like maybe oh bless you. It's about maybe like 12 inches wide. So it's not that big, but
So you're making Barbie blankets.
Exactly. I probably am. Yes, I'm probably making little Barbie blankets. Oh, it's a dream house. Why not? Little pillows,
Cover those cardboard walls.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna walk over
Yeah.
there and we're gonna look at it. Was there anything after this? that we
Oh
wanted
no,
to-
we're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
before we do
Yeah.
that though, I want to open this up for questions. That'll be something we do at the end because we're not going to take the live, the live stream over with us. So I always want to open this up for any questions that anybody has before we do that part of it. Does anybody have any questions for Alexis? Yeah,
Yes.
here, I'm going to
Yeah.
actually bring this
Yeah.
over to you so that the people on the live stream can hear.
So my question was, you mentioned the decomposing flowers. Can you tell me more about that process and what you use it for?
So that was my senior project. So basically, I would take flowers and just let them, get old, basically, and then I would basically like, how to explain this? So thing is, flowers produce colors. So I would have them bleed on a towel. And like these colors, they're pigments. So basically you could just like layer them and make a print. So you could do the same thing on fabric. So that's essentially what I did, is that I made like a sort of drapery with it. And then that's also very much trending as well right now, is these using flowers to make prints on fabric. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
So my second question was,
No.
if you wanted to naturally dye a fabric, what
Yes.
would that process be? If you wanted to use a natural fabric and dye it naturally, how would that be? And would it last longer, the dye, or would it fade away quicker?
So there's different types of dyes. You have to use special sort of solutions for them to stay, the longevity of it, the color. So it really depends, like, obviously we could speak, privately, like if it's a particular, but like there's certain type of solutions. So there's this company called Dharma Dyeing. They sell certain adhesive dye, so they make sure that the pigment stays on the fabric. So I would totally recommend check out Dharma, Dharma. I don't know how to spell it. But yeah.
It's probably, it definitely depends on your fabric.
It depends on so yeah, that's the thing initially. I mean, if you're doing cotton, yes. If you're doing silk, yes. It have to be natural. When you get to polyester, it could get a little finicky, and also if you want to, obviously I see you want to make like organic line of clothing. So, defeats the purpose,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're home dyeing, I mean, that is a lot of mess and waste a lot of, it's just a mess.
It's
hard.
a mess.
And
I mean, you honestly,
finding-
you need a bucket. You need a huge bucket, and you need to make sure it's the right temperature to dye it. It's a whole set of instructions. Honestly, I mean, like maybe do a few samples. You know what I mean? Maybe dye a few yards and see if you even like the color. Because sometimes the thing is, there's a lot of trial and error when you're dyeing fabric, and I've seen it where it's like, oh, the designer ends up not liking it. And they're like, they spent all this money to professionally dye the fabric. And that could be frustrating. Also, it's a waste of money. So I would recommend do a few yards of fabric to dye, maybe 1 or 2 yards, depending on what you're making, and see if you like that color. And then also, I mean, what I've done, even like with painting, like when you paint, you don't always use the color you're using. You mix paint and you mix colors together to see if you like it. So I would even do a test swatch, like maybe cut like a little 1-inch thing of the color that you want and mix it on the cotton or silk or whatever and see if you like it initially, because you may not.
But you have to remember the ratio of dyes that you use.
Exactly,
so that you
that's
can
the thing.
repeat it
So like
again.
you have to make sure that it's the right ratio of whatever color. Like for example, if you have a color chip, then you're matching that color chip. It just depends. Yeah, and it depends on the fabric. So certain fabrics don't react well to certain dyes. Yeah, and then even what's funny is that some of the flowers don't actually stay on the color of the flower doesn't stay on the fabric, so it washes out. So that needs a certain type of dye substitute stuff. Check out Dharma. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when you become an affiliate of Fabric. If you've done so much and you have so many skills, and so I'm going to speak from a smaller brand's perspective.
Yes.
If someone wanted to hire you as an affiliate, what are all of the things, and it can be a quick list, that you could provide that could help a brand in design, development, sales, scaling, etc.?
So, I mean, honestly, it'll be full service because, I mean, that's basically what it's happening. I mean, like I have clients now who they're consulting me on color. I'm getting that a lot lately, which is really funny. But yeah, I mean, I could consult the fabric sourcing, itself. I could consult parts of the tech pack, like as far as the drawing goes. The thing is, like, I can only do it by sending it to the manufacturer. So the thing is, I don't work on a sewing machine. I just want to clarify that but the thing is, I have all the technical skills from doing all these fittings and working with designers that I could tell them just by eye, whether that will fit someone or not. I could look by eye and know if that dress is going to fit someone, whether it's a petite person or a little kid, I know, because you have the eye and you do it. If you think you do it so much that your eye gets trained to, measure fabric. But yeah, so basically, I know how to make prints and repeats. So I've done that a bunch for designers, as well as, some social media stuff, what's trending. I do trend forecasting. I've done that a lot, color chips. Yeah, just basically full service. I have relationships with fabric manufacturers. I have relationships with actual production facilities with producing the garments, domestically. So yeah, basically everything.
Do you have any relationships with dye houses in LA?
I know one.
Okay. I've gotten a few questions lately
I know
about that.
one.
And that might be something
Yeah.
that she might be
So
interested
I
in.
know one. There's someone who I worked with actually on my friend, Lena's collection. We dyed fabric for a drawstring. Yeah. Exciting
I always tell
stuff.
people avoid dyeing your fabric, avoid going through this process, but a lot of people are wanting this lately. So
I
I'm
mean,
like, okay.
it's one thing to have white fabric and, have a flower print, you know what I mean? But then it takes a lot of time and effort to actually color match. And also you need a light box. So all of it gets very technical. And even I've had designers come to me and be like, I don't like that color chip. And I'm like, why? It's the color you wanted, and I'm like, okay, let's try it again. And it takes a few more times, and that's the thing. It all takes time because you're doing, you have a vision and you have a color chip and it doesn't always look the same in different lightings. I feel like a lot of people don't understand that, but I'm just saying, look at it during the day and then look at it. It'll look completely different under fluorescent lighting. If anything, it makes it harsh. So do not do that. Actually, what they say is to go on a cloudy day when it's overcast, and that's true color.
But yeah, if you're getting into actually dyeing fabrics, you need you need money for that.
You need
all
lots of money. Yeah.
all the attempts and.
I mean, honestly, you need to you need to have a partnership with a brand that can afford and pay for it. That's the
normally
reality.
you're just selecting from the existing colors that vendor offers in that fabric at the LA Textile Show or here at the Sourcing Library.
And then also another thing I've noticed is that make sure that those fabric manufacturers have enough yardage of that fabric in that color. Okay, I strongly suggest make sure they have hundreds of that color in stock, because I've had to do the mad dash even for fashion shows where, we got the sample yardage, we can make that runway outfit. Here we're running and
then they
delivering it
stop
to them.
making that color,
Yes,
and
they
you're
st-
stuck.
Yeah, and they stop making that color,
Yeah.
or it's going to take 2 months to recreate that fabric or that dye, and they're going crazy. I'm like, guys, why are you doing this to yourself?
These are all the things you learn in our roadmap.
Yeah.
Are there any other
Yeah.
questions? No? Okay. So what we're going to do, first of all, I want to thank you for sharing your
Yes.
entire story with us. Let's
Thank
give
you.
her a big hand.
Thank you.
It's,
Thank you.
it's a lot to open up like that. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you doing that.
course,
And
yeah.
what an amazing story. I mean, like, I'm blown away that you've done so many things. You seem
Thank you.
so young to have done all of this. Like, you've lived so many lives. So that's incredible.
Maybe my past life, I worked in fashion. I don't know. I don't know.
So
Possible.
I appreciate it. Everybody here appreciates like hearing
Thank you.
and I hope that
Yeah.
you guys learned something. I think it's great to hear somebody's journey, especially like if you're just thinking about getting into this industry or whatever, what it might look like. It looks different for everybody. So it's pretty cool. And I'm going to say goodbye to the people on live
Bye.
stream.
Bye,
Thank you for
guys.
joining us. And
Thank you.
and we'll do this every last Thursday of the month, except for November and December, which is the Thursday before because of the holidays. So come back to the next one if you can't make it in person, but make it in person because this is more fun. And now we're going to walk over and we're going to look at the loom, and she's going to demonstrate how weaving happens. But imagine this on a bigger scale, because this is just a little Barbie one, right? So imagine this is like what it
That's
looks like
right.
to make a giant piece of fabric. So I guess we could put our mics
Yes,
down and
thank
then
you.
head on over there.